alienARMy. I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore, and on this channel we discuss everything out of this world. Today we're going to be talking about demons and demonic entities and what is really the reason why they need to feed off of someone in a human suit. So first off, what I refer to in my content is basically the satanic mafia of the fourth dimension, and this has trickled down into the third dimensional plane, where fourth dimensional satanic mafia have operatives on the third dimensional plane that actually reside in physical bodies, whereas the fourth dimensional ones do not. So when someone makes a deal with the devil, so to speak, this can happen on the 3D plane, this can happen on the 4D plane. That is what we are going to be talking about today, those two dimensions. There are different types of ways that someone can be demonically possessed, let's say, but the ones that I'm going to be talking about right now, this is because they chose to have their human suit run, governed, operated by an interdimensional entity. And these interdimensional entities, they are electric, they do not have bodies, but they also have waived the right away to experience true love vibrational energy, which is on the 5D plane and higher. So when someone is in the satanic mafia, because you can have different entities in the fourth dimension, it's not only these type of demonic entities, but these are the entities that rule the roost on the fourth dimension. And because they chose to waive their right to experiencing fifth dimensional love via the avenue of a soul, what they have done is exchanged that for the right to power over the fourth dimensional plane and any plane below it. So when someone waves away their right to fifth dimensional energy, this is why they need to feed off of another, become somewhat of a parasite, moving from host to host. Because when someone is in a love vibrational state, what happens is that they are constantly being replenished by source, by universe, by God, by the all prime creator, however you want to look at it. So they are a soul inhabiting perhaps a human flesh suit, but they know that they are a spiritual soul having that experience in the third dimensional realm. So they are able to be charged up simply by vibrating at the frequency of love, whereas the satanic mafia, they have signed away that right to love. So now the only source of replenishment is through an outside source. They must feed from an outside source in order to replenish themselves. That's why they seek out soul energy, especially of those under the age of 7, because those are considered to be the most pure souls, because they haven't yet reached the level of consciousness where they can discern for themselves on a grand scale. They are simply in the theta state for the majority of their time on earth, and they are easily susceptible. They haven't necessarily formed their own conclusions or judgments about any one thing. Therefore, the soul, the energy, the life force energy of them is considered pure. Now, we can say that all souls are pure no matter what the age, but it's just after the age of 7, the age of reason, I believe it's referred to in a few places, that the discernment of one's outside environment that is separate from the 3D flesh suit, that is now in a place more of a judging nature, whereas the theta state 7 and younger is more of just accepting and allowing. There is really no judgment. So judgment can be something harsh, it could be something minute. So based upon my judgment, I am sitting here, I am speaking into a camera, I am not the camera. Do you see? That's the judgment. That is the conscious reasoning mind. I am here. This is the separation. I am judging the situation, and the camera is there. I am here, though we are linked energetically in this moment because I am feeding the camera energy, and the camera is essentially feeding me back my own image in order to record myself. We are in an energetic dance, but I also had the discernment to know that this is separate from me, at least on the third dimensional realm. Whereas someone who is prior to the age of reason, the ages 7 and lower, what happens is that they can be speaking into this camera and not necessarily judge that the camera is not a part of them. Of course, they may be aware that they have to pick up the camera, they can handle the camera, but it's not going to be the same as someone knowing that the camera is separate from them. So this is why you see a lot of children under the age of 7, they'll have imaginary friends, or they'll make their stuffed animals talk or whatever, because to them there is no judgment. It's just like the animal is here, I'm here, I'm going to interact with it as if it is a part of me, right, in regards to stuffed animals. So I don't know if that was a weird example, but I think you're kind of in alignment with what I'm saying here. So judgment is not necessarily a negative thing where I'm going to judge this because of their actions and what have you, right? You're judging someone else. Judgment is also the discernment of knowing that here is the flesh suit that I'm residing in for the time being. I'm looking at the camera is separate from me. I know that the energy that I'm giving to the camera is my energy, but it's the separateness of our third dimensional vessels. Whereas someone who is 7 and younger, are they going to think the camera is real and talking to them? Possibly. They might not. It depends. But likely, if you've been around small children, you are going to notice that their whole world is alive, and they are just accepting to everything, be it an inanimate object or not. So that's why the fourth dimensional satanic mafia, be it they reside in a third dimensional human vessel, or they are just only in the energetic realm and occasionally occupy a human vessel through possession or the like, what happens is that they consider the life force to be higher frequency than someone who is an adult and someone who has established how to judge things that are separate from the self. So that is really where the conscious mind steps in. That is the positive aspect of the ego. The ego is saying, this camera is not me. I am me. Therefore, I am separate from it. It is in my experience, but we're not totally enmeshed in our third dimensional dance. Whereas someone who has not the judgment for any object in front of them, they're just accepting it as a part of them. They're very receptive to anything in their environment. And this is the openness. It's not the closed door, because a closed door, you can still walk through the archway, right? But you're gonna have to do some work. You're gonna have to open the door, slide the door, kick the door in, whatever the fuck you gotta do, but it's gonna exert some more effort than if the door was wide open, or if there was no door at all. It was just a simple archway that you step through. So that is the difference of how the fourth dimensional beings differentiate betwixt someone who is 7 years old and younger versus someone who is already mostly in that reasoning, discerning, judgment mind. So because someone with that reasoning is going to be more like the closed door, yeah, you could get in there, right, for that life force energy, but it's not as easy as someone who is just operating where they're just an archway and the door is not present at all. So that's why they target young children, especially. That's like the major reason, I would say. And I'm not saying they don't target adults or things like that, but it's just they're the easiest for the reasons I just explained. So when they need charging up, the easiest life force energy for them to just attain is that of someone who's just, they're energetically open. So this is why many times you'll hear about demonic possessions that can occur while someone is sleeping and they're in that astral realm, right? Because they're more, it's sort of like they're in their body, but that level of judgment, that level of discernment is not necessarily there. And that's why a lot of times when you're dealing with like a fourth dimensional object, like let's say you're looking at a scrying mirror and you're allowing yourself to be open, make sure that you have in mind the discernment to know what is the energy that is allowed near you when you're in that realm and what is the energy that you do not want. So that's just in general, right? Like you want to be open, but you don't want to be so open where you're just that open archway which is left unguarded. So these fourth dimensional satanic mafia entities, they do not have any type of love energy life source, therefore they can be depleted. It's like a battery. If you want to picture a battery being drained, you have to keep charging your phone, right? Just an example, the phone, any type of electronic device, any type of electronic device needs electronic device. Well, that's sort of what I'm doing here, right? Advice on how to deal with the electric beings. So any type of electronic that you had will either require a battery or it'll require you to plug it into some source of electricity, or else it's going to lose the charge. This is why they have the constant need to feed. So if a third dimensional vessel is operating, whatever vessel it is, but it's being operated from a fourth dimensional demonic entity, satanic mafia being, what's going to happen is that now that third dimensional vessel needs to feed off of a human in a 3D suit, a satanic mafia entity that resides only in the fourth dimension. They're sort of like the overseers. Some of them can go into physical bodies, but I mean, if they're primarily there, they're still going to use that vessel, which they sometimes reside in order to feed the life force energy from the humans. So they are looking for entities that are a source of food, because they have signed away their right to experiencing the love vibration, because someone could be experiencing an entire range of emotions whilst they're in a third dimensional vessel, but they always, as long as they haven't signed a deal with the devil, they always have the ability to replenish themselves. So someone can be happy, they can replenish themselves and become even more blissful, or someone could be in a lower energy where they're feeling down or they're feeling stuck or what have you, but they have within them the ability to create positivity even from that downtrodden emotion. They don't need to seek it from an outside source, because they're always connected to love, whether or not they are seeing it in that moment. So someone could be in a pissy mood, but guess what? They can still replenish their own life force energy because they are always connected to love. They have not signed away their right to it. So this is why the fourth dimensional entities really want to steal energy. There's a whole bunch of different motherfuckers residing there, okay? It's really, you have all types of characters. That shit is like a fucking Disney movie. I mean, in some cases, literally, if you catch my drift. So when that is going on, this is why they are never satisfied with anything. They still want more. They still want more, because if they don't continue to extrapolate life force, human currency, soul energy, what's going to happen is they're going to wither away into the nothingness. That's why a lot of, I'm sure you can pick a few names off the top of your head, are into like eternal youth, and there are certain practices that occur on the third dimensional plane which bestow life force, vital energy to keep that entity replenished, because they cannot generate that on their own. They might have power and influence in their own ways, but they cannot replenish themselves because they have signed away their right to experience the love vibration. So in case you're wondering what the satanic mafia agenda is, well, one of their agendas, part of it is that they need to continuously feed off of that human life force energy, because they cannot create that, they cannot tap into that on their own. They have signed that shit away. And that's what I got for you today. I am Oculus, the alien next door, and we will chit chat again soon.